Today I'd like to talk about e-commerce and exports. The thing I want to discuss with you in particular is how you can take the first steps in building a successful export business leveraging online marketplaces. I'm making this video for a group of amazing Central American women entrepreneurs who I've worked with over the past 18 months. If you own a business yourself and you're looking to expand into e-commerce and sell to customers in the United States and Europe, you should stick around. Chances are that you are facing the exact same problems, such as expensive international shipping or problems receiving payments. This video is for you if you're a small business, an entrepreneur, or an artisan. I'm addressing this video to people that have very limited means to invest into e-commerce. This video is for you if you're based in an emerging market. By emerging markets, I basically mean any country that's based outside of the key e-commerce markets like China, the United States, or Europe. So you might be based in Latin America, Africa, or Southeast Asia. The key here is your ability to receive international payments. So you need to have a credit card and a PayPal business account, or you need a business partner that has access to both. You can check the video description below for a list of countries that support PayPal business. It's almost half of the world's countries. This video will be most useful to those of you looking to sell directly to the end consumer. So this video is about business to consumer or B2C trade, not B2B. Also, because we only have limited means available to expand our business, I want to focus on online marketplaces for two reasons. First, it's much easier to create a shop on an online marketplace versus creating your own store from scratch. And second, online marketplaces are huge. According to Web Retailer, if you look at B2C trades, online marketplaces make up more than 50% of all of e-commerce. This is a super exciting time to live in. Right now, e-commerce is growing really fast and creating new opportunities for businesses like yours. I've spent 8 years working for eBay, and during that time, I've seen businesses all around the world grow and succeed. And in the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to work with sellers from places like Central America, Brazil, and Kenya to help them take the first steps in online exports. You can check the video description below to see their shops. The purpose of this video is to share our experience with you. I want to focus on actual examples of sellers that have seen success, and I want to look at the best practices and tools that they use. So here are the 4 key best practices. Number 1, do your market analysis before you put your product online. You want to be able to understand whether there is demand for your product and what the average price is. Number 2, you need to know your shipping and selling fees in detail, so you can know whether you can make a profit or not. Number 3, you should know the basics of how a search engine works so you can make sure your product ranks as high as possible. And number 4, you should know what kind of traffic and conversion rates successful sellers get and what kind of tools they use to boost their sales. So these are the 4 priorities that we'll focus on. And because my background is with eBay, we're going to use eBay as the example platform. But the best practices we discuss here apply to any platform really. So if you're looking to sell on Amazon, Etsy, or even Shopify, there's something in here for you. Now, before we dive into best practices, I want to talk a little bit about e-commerce in general and where eBay fits in. If we look at the big online marketplaces globally, eBay stands out as the easiest and cheapest option for small sellers to start exporting. The largest online marketplaces are in China. But China is a relatively difficult market to enter. This is why with my sellers, I have focused on exporting to the United States primarily. The United States is the second largest market for B2C e-commerce globally, and Amazon and eBay are the largest 2 players there. In my opinion, there are 4 options: Amazon, eBay, Etsy, or Shopify. Amazon is by far the biggest. In 2020, sellers on Amazon marketplaces generated $300 billion in sales. That's the size of a country like Pakistan or the Philippines. It's also more than eBay, Etsy, and Shopify combined. But what's even more crazy is that even though Amazon Marketplaces is huge, it's still growing as if it were a startup. In 2020, it grew by 50%, which means adding $100 billion, which is about the size of eBay. The thing with Amazon, though, is that it's not a great choice for small sellers from emerging markets. There's 2 reasons. On the one hand, unless you're selling handmade goods, you have to pay $40 a month for subscription fees. And on the other hand, Amazon has very strict rules for its sellers. For example, you need to have barcodes if you want to sell on Amazon, and you can only sell there if you accept returns. I want to add an additional point speaking of personal experience. I've worked with a couple of sellers in Africa trying to onboard them on Amazon, and it turns out Amazon makes it quite hard for new sellers to get onboarded. In our case, what happened is that right after the sign up, our account got suspended immediately, and we were asked to submit a business plan in order for the account to be unlocked again. So, while I think that every seller should have Amazon on their radar, it's primarily a good choice for advanced and very experienced sellers. Okay, let's look at eBay. eBay is the second largest online marketplace in the US. eBay sellers generated $100 billion in sales in 2020. Again, to put things in perspective, this is roughly the GDP of a country like Morocco. The problem with eBay is that it's quickly losing market share. In 2020, it did grow by 17%, but that's well below the average of the e-commerce market globally. However, in 2021, if you're a small business from an emerging country and you want to make your first steps in exports, I think that eBay is still the best choice for you. There are two key reasons for this. Number one, among the big global platforms, eBay is the only one that allows you to upload your products for free. You can list up to 50 products with no subscription or insertion fees, which basically allows you to test the market with no financial risk. Number two, eBay is also much less strict than Amazon. You don't need any barcodes and you don't have to accept returns. This makes eBay a great platform for e-commerce beginners that want to reach international customers. Okay, let's move to Etsy. Etsy is relatively small versus Amazon and eBay, but it's growing incredibly fast. It already counts more than 80 million buyers. The thing with Etsy is that it's only for artisans and handmade goods. So if you are an artisan, it's a great choice for you. The fees are quite low. You only pay 20 cents for each product that you upload, and also the selling fees are the lowest among all the big platforms. Finally, let's look at Shopify. Shopify is not an online marketplace. It's an e-commerce platform that allows you to build your own e-commerce site. I'm including Shopify here for a number of reasons. Shopify is great for small sellers, it's huge, and it's working for sellers all around the world. In 2020, Shopify sellers generated $120 billion in sales, overtaking eBay for the first time. I've seen sellers use Shopify all over the world, in Latin America, Africa, or Asia. Shopify is by far the best choice in my opinion, if you're looking to reach international customers and you want to have your own site. The thing with Shopify is that it's more time consuming to build your own e-commerce site versus going on a platform like Amazon or eBay. Also keep in mind that Shopify charges a fee of $30 a month. So, Shopify is a great choice for more advanced sellers, but if you're new, I would suggest you go on online marketplaces first to gain experience. Finally, I want to stress one point regarding fees. No matter what platform you use, you have to factor in selling fees. The selling fees are different on each platform, but as a rule of thumb, you should factor in roughly 20% for payment processing fees, final value fees, and advertising. So to wrap things up, I want to talk a little bit about eBay in more detail. The key takeaway here is that eBay stands out as the easiest and cheapest option if you want to start exporting, especially if you're based in an emerging market. How big is eBay? As we've seen, it's the number 5 worldwide, and in the US, it's the number 2 online marketplace. So where are the eBay buyers? Well, 40% are based in the United States, 60% are based outside the United States, mostly in the UK, Germany, Australia, but also spread all across the world. And finally, what does a typical eBay buyer look like? There are 2 key buyer personas that I think are worth calling out. One is the deal hunter, the other one is the treasure hunter. The deal hunter simply goes to eBay to try and find the best price in the market. The treasure hunter, on the other hand, is looking for this unique product and they're ready to pay a little bit of a higher price to get that unique thing. Let me briefly summarize the key points of the first video for you. Number 1, we've seen that the US is the second largest e-commerce market in the world. Amazon and eBay are the 2 largest online marketplaces in the US market. We also briefly looked at Shopify. Shopify is the most popular platform if you want to build your own site. The thing is that Amazon and Shopify are more relevant for advanced sellers, not for beginners. We've also seen that eBay is the easiest and cheapest option for beginners, especially if you're based in an emerging country and you're looking to export to international customers. Now that we know why eBay is a good place to start your export journey, let's move to the second video. How do you know if your products will sell on eBay? As a reminder, I'm aiming this video primarily at small sellers from emerging markets that want to make their first steps exporting to the United States or Europe. I said at the beginning of the video that you need to know the market before you enter it. You've just got to do your homework before you start investing resources and time into building your online presence. I've seen too many sellers waste time on this, and I can't stress this point enough. So my objective for this video is for you to understand how to get the crucial market data. I want you to be able to answer questions like, is there a market for my product? What kind of price can I get for my product? I want you to understand the kind of tools that are out there to help you get this information. And we're going to do a deep dive on Terapeak, which is the market analysis tool on eBay. Let's dive right in with a demo. To make things practical, let's assume I'm an artisan based in Latin America and I'm looking to sell hammocks like this one to the United States. First, let me find Seller Hub on eBay. Next, I'll click on the Research tab here, which brings up Terapeak Product Research. I'm going to select the site I want to sell on. In this case, I'm interested in ebay.com. I'm also interested to see sales data not just for the last 7 days, but for the whole year. Let me search for hammock here. Yard, garden, and outdoor living looks like the right category. And let's take a minute to digest the information. The average selling price for a hammock was $51.68, although the cheapest was sold for only 99 cents and the most expensive was sold for almost $2,000. If we're selling hammocks, it looks like we're going to have to offer free shipping because almost all of the transactions had free shipping. So this already answers our key questions. Is there a market for our product? Yes, it's $5 million. What's the average price on the market? $51. But that's only one part of the equation. So we've established that there is demand for hammocks. But how big is the competition? It turns out it's quite a competitive space with over 6,000 sellers competing. To find out who my key competitors are, I can run through the list of top sold items down here. The list is organized by total items sold, so we can see that the most successful seller on eBay sold 1,300 hammocks for a total sales volume of $86,000. It just takes 2 clicks to find out who the seller is. In this case, it's a seller called Great Shopping Days that's based in China. Now, if I go back to my list and I continue scrolling down, I realize that most of these sellers have not much in common with me. Most of these sellers, unsurprisingly, are from the United States, but there are also many Chinese sellers. So how do I find out who my real competitors in the handmade space are? Let's assume that I'm based in Mexico and I want to see if there are more sellers from Mexico selling hammocks on ebay.com. I can simply scroll back up to the search field, and in seller locations, I'm going to select Mexico. Now, these are products that look much more similar to what I'm selling. And here are the sales statistics for Mexican hammock sellers on eBay. So let's find out what the overall market for handmade hammocks looks like. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to select all seller locations, not just Mexico. And I'm going to type hammock handmade. And here are the stats for handmade hammocks sold on eBay. So the market opportunity for handmade hammocks is much smaller, but the competition is also much lower. And if we look at the first listing here, we can actually see that handmade hammocks from Mexico have a big market share in the handmade hammock space. So the bottom line is that if we want to be competitive in handmade hammocks from Mexico, the market price will be about $70 and we will have to be able to ship within about 6 days. So now let me add all this key competitor information in my Excel sheet. Competitor price is $69.99 and shipping is free 6-day shipping. I also usually grab a screenshot of the seasonality data. In this case, it shows us that right now in March, this is where the hammock season begins and it peaks out in about May. So this is a good time to start listing hammocks. I can find the seasonality data on Terapeak by clicking here on sales trends and by moving over here to the total sold per month. So what categories does Terapeak cover? Essentially, Terapeak covers all the main categories on eBay. And what are the main target markets? So where do our buyers sit? There are 21 target markets to choose from in theory. If we take our hammock example, it would be interesting to see what the demand is, for example, on eBay Australia. So if I search for that, I can find out that the opportunity is roughly $4 million. So it's smaller than the US market. But what's interesting is that the seasonality is inverted. The peak of summer in Australia is in December, so about 6 months after the US. So if you want to sell your hammocks all year around, you might want to consider eBay Australia. How does Terapeak work? Terapeak essentially looks at the data from the last year. So if we take our hammock example, we can see that basically there were 22,000 sold on ebay.com in this case. And we can see this data by day. So basically in May, when the sales peak, we have about 2,000 sales every day. Whereas in December, when the sales are lowest, we have about 200 sales. And of course, for each sold hammock, we know the price, which is compiled here in average sold price. And as you can see, the price moves up and down a little bit according to seasonality. And going back to the example of our handmade hammock, the average selling price across the year is about $63. There's an interesting peak here in October. It looks like someone bought a hammock for $600 there, which is kind of way above the average. So how much does Terapeak cost? The sellers that have been working with me get a free store subscription where Terapeak is included. If you don't have a store subscription on eBay, the cost is $90 a month. But if you feel like you cannot afford that fee, not even for 1 month, then reach out to me. My contact details are in the description below, and I'll see if I can help you. Also, I'll show you a trick at the end of the video to show you how you can get competitor data without having to pay a fee. So Terapeak also be useful if you sell on Amazon, Shopify. Yes, definitely. eBay is a very competitive marketplace. So if you can have a competitive price and succeed on eBay, you are very likely to succeed on the other platforms as well. Also, Terapeak looks at transactions worth $100 billion. That's a huge amount of data and definitely a good representation of the kind of demand and the kind of prices that you can get in a given market. So how do I get access to Terapeak? If you already have a seller account on eBay, just go to My eBay, Selling, then click on Research, and you'll find the Terapeak interface here. If you don't have an eBay account yet, you need to create one in order to be able to use Terapeak. You can find a video in the description below on how to create an eBay for Business account. Any business owner around the world can open an eBay for Business account. The only exception is for sellers from Cuba, North Korea, Iran, and Syria. Once you've created your eBay business account, go to My eBay here, click on Selling, then click on the Research tab here, and click on Subscribe Now. You can subscribe to Terapeak here for $19 a month with the possibility to end the subscription every month. Next, I'd like to explore a couple of alternatives to Terapeak, and I want to explain to you why I think that Terapeak is the best option if you're a small seller from an emerging country. I've taken some time to test the different tools on the market, and Terapeak really stands out as the one that provides you with the most granular data. Terapeak has data from sellers in over 200 countries, and it's the only tool I found that allows you to look in detail at the competition from your region, whether you're in Latin America, Africa, or Asia. I don't want to spend too much time on this overview. Let me just focus on the key points here, and I will be sharing this overview in the video description below. So essentially, for each key platform, there's a market analysis tool. For eBay, it's Terapeak. For Amazon, there's a tool called Opportunity Finder by Jungle Scout. And for Etsy, there is Marmalade. All of these tools generally charge a monthly subscription fee between $20 and $50. Unfortunately for us, the two most popular tools don't come with any free trials. Okay, as the final point here, let's look at some tricks that sellers use to get competitive insights without having to use a tool such as Terapeak. So I'm going back to my hammock example. I went on ebay.com and I searched for hammock handmade. This is going to show me all the listings on eBay for handmade hammocks. But it's not super useful because I only see the products listed on the platform, not the ones that sold. The good news is that eBay has a filter on the bottom left that allows me to look at sold items only. I'm gonna make sure I select the right category here. And by going through the list here, I can basically see two things. Number one, what is the price that these items are sold for? And we can pretty quickly see that the prices are around the $60, $70 price point. This basically is the sales history for the past 3 months. Again, I have the possibility to filter by country of manufacturer. So I'm going to select Mexico here to see the competitive listings from Mexico. And I can check out the seller profiles. Doesn't this look familiar? This is the same listing we found on Terapeak earlier. Alright, with this, let me quickly summarize the key points of video number 2. Number 1, do your homework before investing in your online store. You need to understand the demand and the average price of a product before you start investing time and resource. Number 2, there are several tools available for market analysis. Most of them specialize on one platform like Amazon or eBay or Etsy. These tools generally come with a subscription fee of between $20 and $50 per month. We found that eBay's tool called Terapeak is very relevant for sellers from emerging markets because we can analyze 200 countries and we can see the competitors in your country. Finally, if you're unable to afford $20 a month, you can use a feature on eBay search called sold items, or you can contact me and I'll try to find a way to let you try this for free. My contact details are below in the video description. And with this, I'd like to move to video number 3 on selling fees on eBay. The objective of this video is for you to understand exactly what the selling fees are on eBay and what kind of profit you can expect. So the idea here is to really share best practices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pricing sheet that I've been working with a bunch of sellers, and I want to make this as practical as possible. So I'm going to work based on 2 examples. One is a seller from Kenya that sells cloth face masks and uses the postal service. And the second example will be a seller from Latin America selling hammocks and using a courier service. So what are the fees when you sell on an online marketplace like eBay? Essentially, you're going to be confronted with 3 types of fees. The first one is the final value fee. That's the share that the marketplace takes every time you make a sale. Secondly, fees for the payment gateway. And finally, there's a fee for money withdrawal and conversion fees. So what about the shipping cost? The best practice that I recommend is to include the shipping cost into the final price so that you can offer free shipping. Let's jump right into the Excel sheet and take a closer look. The example I want to use here is selling handmade hammocks from Mexico to the US. So let's take a closer look at the fees for Mexico. We have the eBay fee, that's 10%. We have a PayPal fee for Mexico to the US, which is 4.5%. Actually, it's 4.45. Then we have a PayPal fixed fee of 30 cents. And in the case of Mexico, there's actually no withdrawal fee if you withdraw the money to your bank, but you don't convert it into pesos. So if you were to convert it into pesos, we would have to adapt it and add 3% here, but I will assume that you want to keep your dollars. Okay, so let me show you how you can use this Excel sheet to calculate your margins. The first thing I need to do is establish the price of the competition. So this is what we did in the last video, and we know that if we want to be competitive, we have to sell at a price of around $70 with free fast shipping. Point number 2 is knowing exactly what our selling cost is. So this is where the table over here comes in. And then finally, number 3, we just need to put the 2 together. We know how much we can sell at, we know what the cost is, and we'll see if there is a margin between, which is going to be our profit. So let's go ahead and calculate our selling costs. We're going to start with the base cost. So I happen to know that you can acquire this type of hammock in Mexico for about $20 US. That's going to be our base cost or sourcing cost. Then I'm going to add $1 for the packaging, assuming that I want to present it in a nice packaging. Then let's look at shipping cost. We are shipping a parcel that is going to be about 1.3 kilos. If you include the packaging, it's going to be certainly below 2 kilos. So I happen to know that for Mexico, there's a shipping service that's available to sellers of all sizes, which allows you to ship a 2 kilo parcel in about 6 days to the US for $27. So I'm well aware that shipping cost is one of the biggest challenges if you're looking to export to the US or Europe. But shipping is too big of a topic to be included in this video. So if you'd like a separate video specifically around shipping, let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. What I can share here is that generally, if you're a small seller, you should be able to secure rates between $20 and $30 if you're shipping out of Latin America or Africa. I've worked with quite a number of sellers in all these regions, and I think that this should be a realistic negotiation target for you, even if you're a very small seller. You may have to make a couple of calls to the different providers and see what they can offer you. The important point is you need to tell them that if they can't give you a good rate, you're not going to be able to sell the kind of volumes that they expect. Okay, so to summarize, we have a base cost of $20, packaging $1, and shipping cost of $27, makes $48 in total. Now let's see what the selling fees are. So the sheet will automatically calculate your fees based on what you put in these fields. In this case, it's correct. It's 10% for eBay. It's 4.45% for PayPal. We have the 30% fee, and we have 0% withdrawal fee. So the total fees are $8.46. And what that means is that our total cost of selling is $56. So we can see that there's a little bit of a gap between the $56 and the $70 target price. That's going to be our margin. So let me add the competitor price here, $69.99. And if I want to sell at the same price, I can basically afford a profit margin of roughly 24%. Actually, it's 24.1%, which corresponds to about $11.57 profit for each item sold. Quick shout out to the team at Fastpedia Tools in Brazil. They really helped make the Excel sheet great. And if you want to use it for yourself, you will find a link in the video description below. There's two more callouts I want to make about our pricing table. Number one is that if there is a digital sales tax or any kind of tax that you have in your country, you can just add it here and it's going to auto calculate. And same thing for import tax. In our scenario, since we're importing into the US, we don't have to worry about any import taxes up to the amount of $800. So I'd like to take a step back here and look at this from a more strategic perspective. We have $27 for shipping costs. That's almost a third. Actually, it is a third of the total final price to the customer. So should we actually include this into the price and sell for $70? Or would it better to sell it for $40 and add the shipping cost? So the reality is that the best practice, as I've seen it, is that for products over $50, you should always offer free shipping. It's going to give you better visibility in search, as we will see in the next video. The other point that's super important from a strategic perspective is the shipping cost itself. Shipping is really the main cost factor here. So is there any way that we can lower it? This brings us to our last point. What is the best way to minimize my fees? So in short, the best way to minimize your fees is to cut your shipping cost, which is the biggest cost factor. The truth is that the selling fees and the payment fees and any taxes, they're not gonna go away. However, there is potential to cut your shipping fees, and I want to show you based on an example and a best practice that we used together with a Kenyan seller. So quick shout out to Kangadelic Fashion in Naivasha. So what we did with Kangadelic Fashion is that essentially by using forward deployment, we managed to radically cut our shipping cost and to increase our shipping time by a lot. And that really helped us drive sales. The first step we took is to check the market. So we established a competitor price of $6.50 and we looked at the demand side and we found that this is a market of $10 million. So it's quite a substantial market to try and get into. Next, we calculated our costs. I got a base cost of $1, packaging was 15 cents, and the shipping cost from Kenya to the US was $4.30. So again, this was the main cost factor. Again, let's add the selling fees into the mix. We have 10% for eBay, 4.4% for PayPal in the case of Kenya. We have a 30-cent fixed fee per transaction. And in the case of Kenya, if we want to withdraw the money into M-Pesa, it's a 3% withdrawal fee. So we had established the market price at $6.50 and we had established our cost. So it turns out the cost was $7.09. So if we wanted to be competitive, we would actually operate at a negative margin of minus 8.8%. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Even worse, since we were shipping from Kenya using the Kenya Post, our shipping time was 1 month, which was way slower than the competition that was shipping in 5 days. So we did a little bit of math and analysis, and we found out that if we were to ship directly from the target market, in this case the United States, we could cut our shipping cost from $4.30 to 90 cents, and we could improve our shipping time from 1 month to 3 to 5 days. There were two important things to consider. On the one hand, we needed a business partner in the US that would receive the parcel and ship out to the end customer. And we needed to make sure that the parcel that we shipped into the US had a total value of less than $800 so we could avoid any import taxes. So what we ended up doing is we sent a parcel with 150 masks to the business partner in the US, and it came to like 15 cents for each mask. And then the shipping within the US was 75 cents per mask. So essentially the shipping cost now was 90 cents and we could ship in 3 to 5 days. This is what our new cost sheet looked like. Essentially, we were able to lower the price to $3.99, which was way below the competition. We could ship at the same time, and all that while making a profit. This graph shows the old shipping model with shipping from Kenya to the US, where you can see a high shipping cost, a high total cost, and a really low profit. Now compare this to the model where we ship out of US, where we have a much lower price, we have a much more reasonable shipping cost, and the profit is actually much bigger as a share of the final price. And the results on the business were pretty clear. While we were making only a couple of sporadic sales at the beginning, we started making consistent sales afterwards, and ever since we've seen consistent sales. I want to thank Kangadelic Fashion in Kenya for letting me share these details. And if you have any questions on this model about freight forward, let me know in the comments below. And depending on your interest, I can look into making a separate video on this. Let's wrap up video 3 with a quick summary. Number 1, you should always factor in about 20% for selling fees. On eBay, there are final value fees that are 10%. For the payment providers, there is a fee of 4 to 6% when you sell cross-border. And you have to factor in withdrawal and conversion fees if you want to get the money back into your country. Number 2, to do your margin calculation, you first have to know your competition price. So do your homework on the market analysis. Then calculate your selling cost. I'm going to share with you the Excel sheet in the video description below. You will be able to find out if there's a profit from there. Number 3, you should add the shipping cost into your final price and offer free shipping. Go talk to the different couriers in your country and convince them that you need a low shipping fee in order to be competitive. In my experience, in every country that I've worked with so far, there were multiple options, and the business development people were willing to give substantial discounts. But finally, the best way to cut your shipping costs is if you can freight forward your inventory into the target market. As we've seen, you can radically increase the shipping speed and you can cut your cost 3 to 4-fold.